very excited about my guest today is the amazing stunt performer and stunt coordinator, Eimear O'Grady. I'm sure you've probably seen her in some programs. Some of the most notable ones would be the Tudors, the Moth Diaries, Rebellion, Penny Dreadful, Ripper Street, Into the Badlands, Shetland, The Young Offenders, and Vikings. And that's just to name but a few. Now, we did have a few technical issues with this episode as she's living quite remotely and the internet connection wasn't brilliant, so some of the audio is a little bit off. I lined it up as best as I can, but I hope you enjoy this brilliant chat, and there's some very exciting stunt clips in this one, so enjoy. Hi Eimear, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Great.
Good, yeah. So whereabouts are you? Who are you with at the moment?
So I'm at home with my husband and my little boy. So we're enjoying the. I'm in Galway, yeah. Down by the sea, which is very lucky. It's within our, it was in our 2K, so we're really lucky where we are.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, we're kind of the same here. It makes a difference, doesn't it? Having something.
Oh, I can only imagine. I can imagine. Yeah, I'd say it's quite difficult in the cities, in apartments. Some apartments I've lived in my time, I would imagine it's difficult to be there right now.
We've had that conversation too. Very lucky. But listen, so first of all, can I ask, how would you describe yourself? Because like I was talking to my family about you and I called you a stunt cellist.
I love it. That's exactly how I would describe myself, a stunt cellist.
But like, you're still doing quite a bit of music as well as stunts, are you?
Yeah, I am. So I still play, and I kind of play in a different way now. I think I play just for my own pleasure, but I also kind of play with other people. If people pop up and say, would you like to do this? I'm like, yes, I would love to do it. So I think I probably play by my own rules a bit more now than I would have done when I was studying. I think that suits me far better.
And tell me, like, how, because when I first met you years ago, you were a cellist, and suddenly it was like you were this amazing stuntwoman. So how did that journey happen? How did that come about?
Well, it was probably fated anyway before I even touched a cello. So I was a swimmer. I was an open sea swimmer and a springboard diver while I was growing up. I only really became a cellist because my elder sister Heidi, we had a horse at home, and she fell off the horse and broke her arm. And I remember I was up a tree at the time. I used to love climbing trees, bit of a tomboy, and my mum said, Eimear, get down here. And I said, okay. So I came down and she said, look, there's cello lessons paid for and you're going. Heidi can't go, so you're going. So that was it. That's how I became a cellist. And I ended up studying in college and had a great kind of life with it. And then, went back to college and studied acting. And whilst I was there, I kind of got involved in the stunt side of it and just thought, this makes sense. This is cool. This is, I like this. This makes sense for me, you know.
And then, was there someone that you sort of admired in the stunt business that you sort of thought, oh God, I want to do that. I want to be like them. I mean, especially, like, I imagine there aren't a huge amount of female stunt people.
No, there wasn't. And I think there was probably a few who in the Irish industry before me who had worked, but maybe not made a full-time career out of it because the opportunities weren't there. And so when I came along, I had never really aspired to be a stunt person because I didn't know it was a possibility. I remember having like my advice in school about careers and like who's going to talk about being a stunt performer in careers advice when you're in sixth year. I mean, I think I was told a few different things that didn't really make much sense for my sensibilities. But I think they knew I had music up my sleeve as well, so they kind of let me off and just said, well, she's going to go that route. But no, I never knew that being a stunt performer was a possibility in Ireland. I didn't know it was a thing. I knew there were stunt men, but I hadn't really heard of stunt women. So no, I'll be honest, I didn't really have any aspirations towards it, just out of sheer kind of not knowing that it was possible. But then when I did my first job, I was on a Guinness ad and I had to jump from a cherry picker crane onto boxes in a beautiful red silk dress. And I remember my going through my head, the costumer had said to me, whatever you do, do not tear this dress or rip this dress. And I thought, okay, I won't rip this dress, which showed my naivety because I had plenty of other things to be thinking about, my own safety, as opposed to this red silk dress. But that's all that was in my head. And so basically I met another of my colleagues now on the top of that crane for the first time, and he gave me his hand and he said, "Are you nervous?" I said, in my head I was thinking I could lie to this guy and impress him and tell him I'm not nervous, or I could just be really honest. And I just said, "Yes, I'm really nervous." And he was like, "This is good. I'm glad you're nervous. Let's go." And we jumped off onto the boxes, and that was kind of it. And that was like it's a lovely moment actually, because now I'm firm friends with that man, and he's kind of like, he ended up being kind of my mentor through my whole stunt career. And every big stunt that I've done, he's kind of been there in the background and looking after me. So, you know, it's amazing that that one moment kind of cemented a friendship. It's trust.
What things have you worked on that we might have seen?
So most recently, well, I was on Normal People as stunt coordinator. And so I was brought in for the kind of more visceral sex scenes. So there's some scenes that have a kind of element of unsafety, I guess. Is that a word even? But so I was brought in just to help choreograph that, and to kind of make sure that the cast felt safe, and that it was repeatable, and that it was, you know, something that was also telling the story whilst using our tricks to hide the fact that they're not actually in the act of it. So as a Normal People, yes, I just was on Foundation, which is a sci-fi. It's an Apple television show that was being filmed in Troy Studios in Limerick. And so I was in Iceland at the beginning of the year, and yeah, we've kind of, in Germany, I was in Berlin for a couple of weeks with that. And so that's been quite busy. It's obviously stopped now because of the COVID-19.
Yeah, I was going to say, were you in the middle of a project when lockdown happened, or?
Yes, so I was working in Troy Studios on this job, with a view to going to Malta for a month, to work in the tanks over there, and it all just stopped quite quickly. Actually, they were quite proactive in their in stopping the whole thing, because it was a huge production. There was a lot of people involved.
Nice. Sorry, Eimear, like your lips are moving at a different time as I'm hearing you, so it's kind of confusing. Just
it's another trait of mine.
Stunt talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if you don't mind, I have a list of questions here for my 8-year-old son, who was very excited that I was going to talk to you, because he's also a cellist and he does like to throw himself off things. So if that's all right, I'd like to ask you his question.
I would be so happy to answer those.
So have you ever been set on fire?
Yes, many times. So fire, I really enjoy fire. It's kind of something that I've spent a bit of time kind of looking into. Again, with the colleague I was telling you about, Gina Geese, he's a bit of a genius when it comes to that work, because he's made all of the gels that you use. And yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Actually, that leads me on to another one, because I wanted to ask you, how are stunts actually planned? Like, I mean, safety-wise, like there must be so much planning that goes in, but how do you plan it without trying it, if you see what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So it's all about prep. Everything is about prep. And so on the day when you're performing, you're actually not thinking about the stunt per se. You're thinking about the performance for camera. You need to be at that level on the day so that you're not worried about this, that, or the other. You've gone through it. So basically, you bring things up to a level. Now, if it's a really big stunt, you don't do it onto the day. You really don't. You get to a certain stage, and then on the day, you'll take it that extra little bit. But no, you don't put yourself in danger on a in big danger on a kind of rehearsal day. So you just incrementally build things up.
And do you still get nervous? Do you still get nervous doing things?
Certain things. I don't get nervous for fire. It's not helpful. It's actually that would be the worst thing that could happen, is that you get nervous and you run away. Nobody can get you. You're on fire. So it's all about breath. The difficult thing about fire is you usually do it on breath, so you'll hold your breath, or you'll use an apparatus. I don't think I've used an apparatus for burns. No, all of mine have either been open face or with like a tube. So no, I've kind of done mine on breath.
God, you're very brave.
I love it. I actually find the challenge of not losing it is the key. That's what I like.
Presumably, I I'll come back to George's questions, but presumably, like in this lockdown, you need to be quite physically fit. Are you training, or how are you?
Yeah, so things have changed probably in the last maybe 2-3 years since I've had my son. I've changed into a coordinator status. So now I'll go out and I'll kind of facilitate the stunts and manage them and put the right person in the right place to do the job. And there's some brilliant people out there at the moment in the group that I'm in. And so that's kind of changed a little bit. Before, yes, I would have been swimming a lot. That was kind of my thing that I enjoyed and liked and could kind of push with. So yeah, I mean, when you're working, it's very difficult as well because the hours are so long. Like you can work anything from 12 to 14, 15, 16 hours a day. So it's difficult to kind of make time for life as well, you know.
Especially with the little one, yeah.
Yeah.
So my next question then, have you ever been crashed into by a car or a motorbike?
Yes, I have been crashed into by a car. But I was in a car at the time for a job on the Shetland Islands, actually. And that was, yes. So basically you're in a bucket seat and you have a neck brace on and but yes, you were crashed into. The other thing was a car knockdown that I did. It was probably one of the biggest stunts I've done. And it was early in my career and probably put me on the map a little bit. And that was, it's pretty old school in a way, in that we basically did it for real, with practice, obviously, with lots of rehearsal. It was a blind knockdown, which are rare. They're rare enough that you get blind knockdowns, which meant I couldn't see the car coming. I was told not to turn around and look at the car, even though you can hear it behind you.
Oh, it must be really hard not to react, because if you know it's going to happen, like how do you not react?
Absolutely. So you've to, I guess, adrenaline courses through you. So I knew that I had to run to get to a certain place to meet the car. The car was going to collect me at a certain place where we had placed kind of we'd placed some mats, and that was going to be the spot where the hit would happen. But of course, your adrenaline is up and you run. I ran a little bit faster than I had anticipated, just because your heart rate's up, everything's up. So that's why I say adrenaline's not really your friend. You need to suppress that and find a way around it, and calmness is the key.
So do you find in your normal life now things don't really stress you? Are you quite sort of...
No! I would love if that was true. I would love if that were true. It's so funny, like when you look at fire, you look at a car coming towards you, then there's real danger and you're able to suppress it, but it's all these little things that creep up in you that can chip away at you that you don't realise, know. It's amazing, actually, now that you mention it.
Okay.
No, I'm not a Zen Buddhist. I wish I was.
So his next question is, did you jump off a skyscraper?
I have never jumped off a skyscraper. George, I need to jump off a skyscraper. No, I've never jumped off a skyscraper, but...
It'd be rare enough that you jump off a real skyscraper. There's amazing footage of an artist called Bob Brown, worth looking at, called The Big Leap.
He did this amazing jump through glass on fire onto an airbag. It's just phenomenal. It's kind of like one of the best stunts ever. He's kind of just done everything. I haven't done it, but I have jumped at heights off different things, usually frames, scaffolding frames. Right. And they build them and then they kind of paint whatever they need to on top of the scaffold.
And what do you think is the highest? What's the highest you've jumped, do you think?
Oh gosh, yeah, nothing too high, if I'm really honest. Like nothing over 25 feet, maybe 30 feet max.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, max. No, it's not considered very high. It's not considered very high. Some cliffs, some scaffold. Yeah, no, I think that's probably the max. There's people that do big jumps, and that's not considered a big jump.
It just puts me in a cold sweat even thinking about it.
It's a little hop.
Yeah. Okay, his next question is, do you have a favourite kind of stunt? I think you might have answered that with the fire. Is fire your...
Do you have a favourite kind of stunt? Yes, I like fire and I like water. Any of the elements. That's what I like.
This is such an 8-year-old boy question. Did you ever get chased by a bull?
Did I ever get chased by a bull? Not in work. No, I've never been chased by a bull, but maybe, I don't know, I'll go to Pamplona and see what's going on there, run around. before I get too old and my knees get too creaky. Might try that. Did George ever get chased by a bull?
No, but he's quite obsessed with them. So.
I love his questioning. It's quite cool, actually.
I mean, I have one. Like, do you do like any of the sort of sword fighting and stuff? Is that a stunt?
Yes.
Or, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of So I have done some of the sword fighting. I did some of the fencing on Penny Dreadful and worked on Vikings for a good few years. So yeah, it is an element of stunts. It's a little bit of a funny one because they use it in stage combat, and that's where it was most prevalent. But of course, there are period dramas that are going on here. And yes, stunt work will be considered, sword work will be considered part of stunts. Really, a little bit of me, yes, I absolutely concur that that's choreography of kinds. It depends if it's grouped with things like high falls or fire, or, you know, what I would consider like an actual kind of hard stunt, you know, in a way. So yes, it is part of stunts, but there are other elements also. Sure. That would make you a stunt man as opposed to just being a sword fighter.
Okay. And certainly in Ireland here, is it, how many, you know, is it a big industry or?
Yeah, it's a very busy industry. It's a small industry, but it's busy. And so everyone kind of knows each other. There's unfortunately a lot of political fracas that goes on in this world because it's so competitive. And people want the work, and and there's lots of new people coming in all the time, or at least trying to knock on the door. And it's a tough place to get into, and it's a tough place to stay in, unless you are prepared to train and kind of evolve, look forward, and work as a team with people. That's really the only way forward. I think people fall out of it, or they fall foul of it when they stop doing those things. So that's really kind of how it works.
And are you sort of a self-employed stunt person, or is it like a team that you work with all the time?
Yeah, so I'm self-employed, but I'm also part of a guild of stunt performers and coordinators. I'm actually president of it this year, which is great. First female president. Fantastic. Yeah, it's great. But they're a great gang of people, and there's lots of really fantastic people coming up through the guild at the moment. So it's just going to get stronger and stronger. And what we're putting in place are training framework for people, so that unlike when I was in careers advice and nobody had a clue that it was a possibility, somebody might find out about it and they'll say, oh my gosh, that's a possibility, I can get into it. We have a stunt school as well, where people can come and learn some of the kind of tricks and, you know.
Yeah, that was one of my questions actually, is if anyone was watching but wanted to get into stunts, how do they even start? Like,
well, I guess look up stuntguildireland.com, and that will have the qualifications list. And basically you need a certain amount of qualifications for different statuses. But you can start to be a trainee when you're 16, as long as you have one of the qualifications. So you can start your journey, and our job is kind of to support people coming up and teach them, because it's all like you said there, you can't really go out and just do a dangerous stunt. You need to learn the preparation for that, and it really comes from experience. It's very difficult to get a qualification that's going to say you are a stunt man or woman. Very difficult. Now we're trying to change that with the stunt school, but I mean that's evolving at the moment.
Yeah, that's great. And like, what do you have things planned for when we come out of lockdown, or is it all sort of up in the air at the moment?
It's all up in the air at the moment, but I think studios are allowed back to work from the 29th of June. Now we've been working on COVID back to work kind of protocols, and I guess we just have to see what happens. I would imagine that it's going to be similar to this close contact sport, so something like rugby or wrestling, or, you know, that times when we can go back and do fight scenes, especially. They're going to be the tricky ones. Otherwise, what we'll do is isolated stunts, so we can do high falls, we can do car crashes, because people will be isolated. So it's going to, you know, like there's certain things you can do, and then the intimate kind of scenes we'll have to look at the time.
Okay, and you mentioned that you've gone more into the stunt coordinating. So does that mean that you actually work with a film director or something to plan the stunt from start to finish?
Exactly. So they'll write it, you'll get the script, you do a breakdown, and you see. I think things are going to change now, because what we're saying is if something's written in the script and it's not entirely possible, then we're going to have to be able to change that and tweak it and try and come up with something better. That is possible, you know, creatively. So so that's kind of what you do. You work with the directors, you work with the showrunner, you work with all the other departments to try and make it possible.
So you feel fairly positive that, you know, there's a way out of this current situation, and that, you know, you'll be back at work soon.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways. I mean, it'll be down to budget as well, I think. Like, yeah, like the CGI is could be a great friend of ours. And if we can learn how to work together with kind of the VFX department, that would be really good as well, you know. Anyway, we're looking at lots of different things. Basically, we need to know them because we need to train people so that they come on set and they know what they're doing.
Yeah. And just, I mean, you mentioned this amazing stunt earlier with the guy on fire jumping through glass. I was going to ask you if there's a favourite all-time stunt that you saw that just made you blew your mind. Would that be it, do you think, or is...
That's probably it. Pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome now, and it's old school. Like it's yeah, it's pretty amazing. I don't just watch, and I don't just watch stunts, you know, so I'm kind of looking at, like, there's beautiful underwater dance routines. There's like a lot of dancers, a lot of artwork that's going on that you can draw from. Lots of things like that. It's not just about watching somebody do an end of kind of, here's a stunt. You kind of have to draw from lots of different things. So like a dance routines, ballet, anything that you find that you can kind of put into play is where you draw from, you know.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for talking to me, Eimear. It's been amazing. It's been really, really interesting, and I can't wait to see you in action at another time. Maybe jump off a skyscraper for us.
Yeah, listen, I can't wait. Hopefully we'll meet George and I'll look after him and we can do some rolls like chase bulls.
Would absolutely love it.
We'll chase the bulls instead of the bulls chasing us. How about that?
That sounds good. Thanks so much for talking to me.
No, thank you. Thank you.